So I do not know what's going on in ATP. I just don't have the bandwidth. So, wish them luck.
Hello everybody, welcome to The Body Serve. I'm Jonathan.
I'm James.
It's been 4 weeks since you've been looking for your friend. The one you let hit it never called you again. Remember when he told you it was about them Benjamins?
Don't tempt me. Because I will. Yeah, it has been a really refreshing break. Thank you for coming back in the new year. It's our 12th season. Can you believe that?
I can at this point. I'm leaning into believing.
Yeah, actually, I can believe that. We are really so appreciative of those of you who've donated to the GoFundMe, who've shared. It is not a requirement of listening to the show, but nevertheless, we really, really appreciate it.
Truth be told, I'm bowled over by the response so far. I was fearful that our prolonged absence would be detrimental to the campaign. Mm-hmm. But I guess Instagram works, Blue Sky works, and we had enough crumbs left with the episodes that we produced in the fall to keep people tithed over and engaged up to this point.
If you are inclined to contribute to our GoFundMe, you can find it at linktree.com/thebodyserve or on any of our socials, including Blue Sky and Instagram, where we are at The Body Serve.
We always keep the campaign going past the end of the Australian Open. I think the cutoff date this year that I looked at, I'm pretty sure I told you, but you'll probably forget anyway. February 5th.
Okay.
It is the week after the Australian Open ends, so there's still time. We appreciate every and all donations from $1 to the sky. As we say in Jamaica, I've said before as well, every mickle make a muckle. It all adds up. Just the thought that you are out there still enjoying the show and willing to support us in this way, it means a lot. I know you are always very trepidatious about going through this process every year. You don't like it.
I didn't put up a fight this year.
Sure, but it doesn't change the fact that you didn't just become a different person.
Right. Yeah, it's not a natural thing, right, to position yourself that way, but somebody told us a long time ago that you should put yourself out there and give folks the opportunity to contribute if they want to, and they don't have to. So that's that. We really, really appreciate it, and it's helped us travel and continue the show and do things that we never thought were possible.
So thank you all for your continued interest in the show, in us, and your continued support. If you'd like to contribute this year, you can find the link at linktree.com/thebodyserve. A lot of breakups in the off-season. The biggest one, I think, would be Juan Carlos Ferrero and Carlos Alcaraz.
Yeah, I would say this was the most surprising one to me. I kind of thought this relationship would last quite a while. It seemed pretty strong, but now, of course, that it's over, you start hearing about some cracks that were potentially showing before the actual end happened.
I think you're referring to that documentary on Netflix where we just assumed producers needed to set up this dichotomy of Juan Carlos being the overbearing parental figure trying to keep Carlos in line, and Carlos, wanting to be a little bit reckless and youthful at the expense of his tennis career in spots. But what it didn't account for, apparently, was the input and interference of the Alcaraz family.
Allegedly. I kind of thought that the whole documentary thing was over-dramatized. Like, I thought they were just kind of playing it up for the cameras, that Netflix had to create some conflict in this team, but maybe there was a bit more truth to it than I realized. Juan Carlos being pretty hardline, pretty serious, didn't like a lot of the extracurricular demands on Carlos's time, apparently. Exhibitions being one of them, photo shoots, sponsorship responsibilities, stuff like that.
Fucking off to Ibiza after winning tournaments.
Right. Going to F1, and he made his opinion clear on the show. Now, this happened shortly before Christmas, I think, right? The breakup. We found out that they split, and of course, everybody had the inside scoop, right? Everybody knew what the answer was.
The date happened, 5 different accounts had 5 different reasons why it happened. And we don't really know the exact reason. It's still a lot of speculation, but what we can tell for sure is that Juan Carlos did not necessarily see this coming, and that he's pretty tore up about it.
Yes. Now, he claims that compensation was not the deciding factor, that the Alcaraz team presented him with a contract with a pretty short turnaround time, and they weren't willing to just come to the table and discuss like they normally do. And that was kind of that. He was not willing to accept the terms as is. There was no conversation, and then the relationship was severed.
He said his relationship with Carlos was outstanding and that he doesn't blame him for the split. Quote, "Right now I'm hurting. These relationships are hard to walk away from overnight. There has to be a period of mourning. And above all, I imagine it will hurt when I see him playing in tournaments. That's when all the shared experiences come back."
And I can't imagine the FOMO that is when you've been with a player since he was 15 years old for the past 7 years. You're going to have to see him go on and live his life. But you also have a real emotional connection to this person. He's sort of grown up with you in a way.
They've built each other. Juan Carlos helped build Carlos into world number 1, 6-time slam champion. Carlos helped build him as one of the preeminent coaches, one of the preeminent academies in tennis. His stature in the game is cemented forever because of Carlos, probably even more so than his own playing career at this point.
One of the reasons being thrown around has been the academy angle. The fact that Carlos had been training at JCF's academy,
which is like a couple hours away from Carlos's home, right?
But he recently went back to training at the Carlos Alcaraz Academy in Murcia. I've heard that this is not actually, one of the aggravating factors, but who knows? We haven't heard from the Alcaraz camp at all, aside from Carlos just posting a gracious Instagram about his time with Juan Carlos and how much he cherished it. But that team is probably not going to say much. Juan Carlos, being the one who feels kind of hard done by, is the one doing interviews. The fact that Carlos himself seemed pretty absent from these negotiations was surprising to me. He is a grown man now. He's not a kid, but he has people negotiating on his behalf. But for a grown-up professional athlete to not be in negotiations with his own coach strikes me as weird.
It's not really that weird when you consider the tennis dynamic. He's still very much in the my family is in control era of his life, which is the case for pretty much every tennis player. The parents invest so much for them to get to that point. And rightly or wrongly, they feel like they have a say, sometimes an outsized say. It's surprising that somebody as big in stature as Carlos could maybe defer to parents in this situation, given that he's the one who has to have this active working relationship with Juan Carlos. And if they didn't have any real differences, then what are we really talking about here? At the end of the day, your career is very important, I'd imagine.
I mean, I would think that if everything was going great and Carlos was super happy, we wouldn't be here.
I don't know that that's the case. Like especially these Europeans, they're weird with their families. The Tsitsipases, the Nadals, the Alcarazes, like even the ones that feel functional and adjusted, they're still weird.
Well, but not just Europeans, right? We're all weird with our families, but...
We are. I'm saying with respect to careers and in this type of scenario. I feel it's extra hands-on for parents in this way, to be able to guide the career even when you feel like they've left the nest. Carlos still goes home and sleeps at his parents' house.
Right. I mean, that's where he lives, right?
Yeah.
Nadal was the comparison to me. That's kind of what I thought of right off the bat, because, Rafa employed practically half of Mallorca, right? His entire family was on his payroll in some capacity. Last year, Samuel Lopez joined the team, for the 2025 season as kind of the co-coach, and he was actually present at a lot of the events that Juan Carlos did not attend. And there are a number of events that Juan Carlos doesn't attend throughout the year. That might have been one of the signs. I don't know. But
I mean, this is not new also.
No.
This is not the first season that would have happened. We'll know more when Carlos steps to the podium at the Australian Open. That's his next official tournament that he's entering, and his pre-tournament press will be telling. Another split this offseason happened with Naomi Osaka leaving her management company that she co-founded with Stewart in... I'm just not going to say his last name. I don't know. I've tried to find out, and it hasn't happened to date. So
Dugid.
Yeah,
I think.
Sure. They founded Evolve in 2022. Stewart's been Naomi's agent at IMG since 2016. They went off to do this together. They've been working together. During their partnership, Naomi became the highest earning female athlete in history. In 2020, that's for like 1 year.
Yeah,
right?
not cumulatively.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Reaching number 1, winning 4 slams. And she became close with Stewart's wife, Carly, as well, who became her creative director. So they kind of put all their collective eggs into the same basket, and now Naomi has thrown the baby out with the bathwater.
Yes. Stewart said at the time that he wanted to build Evolve around Naomi Osaka and possibly a few other clients, but the marquee player was always going to be her. The plan wasn't to build this huge sports agency. They signed Nick Kyrgios in 2022. He reached the Wimbledon final that year and then kind of disappeared, became irrelevant as a tennis player.
Injuries, personality, all of those things combined derailed his career.
Right. The personality side could have been anticipated by Naomi and Stu. Naomi, of course, went on maternity leave. Her playing career hasn't rebounded as quickly as she would have liked. Then she gets involved in this FTX crypto sponsorship disaster in which she's being sued as a celebrity sponsor, or celebrity endorser.
Evolve has since gone on to sign On Jabeur, Kalinskaya, Jovic, Atmain, Evelise, and now, of course, their big poster child, Sabalenka.
Who's now their highest earning athlete. So clearly they had to diversify. Naomi's account, right? It didn't explode as Stu had hoped it would. She was a $50 million athlete at that time, and he thought they could triple it at Evolve. They haven't done that. Sabalenka makes significantly less than Naomi did at her peak. So apparently Naomi's management contract with Evolve lapsed this year, and she is a co-founder. I thought a co-owner. I don't know what it's like to leave a company when you are the co-owner, what that actually looks like, because she's not just a client. But she has moved to IMG. Back to IMG, where she worked with Stewart for many years.
Now she's with Max agent Make Me Rich.
Yes. Which is very funny because in Ben Rothenberg's bounces on this topic, he reached out to Eisenbud for comment in December. Hey, did you hear that Naomi is leaving Evolve? And Max responds with 3 question marks. And that's it. Hilarious, considering Max is now the agent.
So he does read emails.
So he does. And apparently he did know what Ben was asking about.
You have here in the agenda that, quote, I would recommend avoiding assigning any moral weight to this decision with respect to the battle of the sexes. Naomi has been a huge Nick supporter this whole time.
Yes, I did say that.
And I accept that, but I also say that if we criticize Naomi for having done these things and taken these steps, is this not what we would want from her? Shy of a public distancing and chastising of all that's happened, maybe she'll say something about it in Australia.
I mean,
Isn't one of the steps to distance herself from these people?
I mean, her media company still hosts Nick Kyrgios' podcast, does it not? I mean, she was part of this promotional tour. She's talked about how she respects him, they're friends. I mean, there's never been a problem before, so why would I believe that she all of a sudden had this moral awakening? I don't think that's the case.
I think we just have to wait probably yes, 95% yes, but we'll be able to know more definitively once she's asked about stint press. Because Ben's there. He's in Australia.
Yeah, I just think it's very unlikely. And honestly, her contract with them lapsed anyway at the end of December. She just didn't re-up.
Novak Djokovic quit the PTPA.
Now, this one, I don't know if it surprised me, but it did feel like it came out of nowhere ahead of the Australian Open. It wasn't right after the lawsuit. I didn't realize there were any precipitating factors to look out for.
We've never known there to be precipitating factors to look out for with the PTPA. They just pop up and say and do whatever they want randomly, and then we have news in little bits and bobs, and then they go away, and nothing happens.
On January 4th, Novak tweeted, "After careful consideration, I have decided to step away completely from the Professional Tennis Players Association. This decision comes after ongoing concerns regarding transparency, governance, and the way my voice and image have been represented." Wow. That is intense. The way my voice and image have been represented. This is an organization that he co-founded.
It seemed at the time that he wasn't too on board with the lawsuit that was filed, for one. So much so that he wasn't a named plaintiff, and we were one of those who kind of gave him grief for, well, hey buddy, how are you the face of this thing and you can't show up when you're taking this big step as an organization? Mm-hmm. Why are you passing that on to other people?
Or didn't you want this?
And maybe he did not agree with it at all. At the time, he said he disagreed with some of the verbiage, and the language was strong in parts that he didn't necessarily agree with, but the general gist or what have you, clearly, in retrospect, there was more going on behind the scenes than we knew about.
The lawsuit is a huge swing. If you've read the entire complaint, or if you've just read the highlights, you know it covers a lot of ground. It is audacious on purpose. It is trying to be attention-grabbing. And it may be successful in certain aspects. I've seen people sort of suggest that Novak reaching this point in his career and having often been perceived as the enemy or the gatecrasher is now sort of enjoying this phase in his career where he can be the elder statesman. And maybe being so confrontational is just not what he wants to do at this moment. I think that's possible. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, during COVID, he was in a very different stage in his career, and he was probably pretty pissed off with the tennis establishment. Is he positioned the same way in 2026?
The PTPA responded claiming that there is, quote, a coordinated defamation and witness intimidation campaign going on against them. But notably, they declined to name exactly who is doing it. Mind you, the judge in the New York lawsuit already warned the ATP to stop.
And this was shortly after the lawsuit was filed. The ATP was found to have been kind of leaning on players. Intimidating, perhaps, or insisting that they not fall in line with the PTPA. And the judge said, stop doing this. Now, you know, the PTPA cannot name somebody because then they'd have to show evidence. Like, it's very serious to say somebody is launching a coordinated defamation and witness intimidation campaign, because you'd have to show a lot of substantiation if you wanted that to stick.
Right, but okay. I just don't get how this is the response to what Novak said. This is a response to the ATP. Sure, this is a response to haters out there. This is a response to us.
Right.
But why, after Novak said this, do you come back with that? What does this mean? Is Novak part of this coordinated defamation and witness intimidation campaign? Has the ATP gotten to Novak? Is that what they're implying?
Or are they saying he's the victim of it? Right? Has somebody been getting in his ear and lying about the PTPA to him? They never made the connection.
And so now they've lost their leader because of the interference.
Well, I don't know. They didn't say that. But releasing this right after Novak left, is that a suggestion that these are in some way connected? I don't know. I didn't get it. I don't get most of their statements, to be honest.
See, I thought Novak was taking a shot at the PTPA, which is why I immediately read it the way I did.
Well, he was. Which
is why I don't see why the PTPA would come back so vaguely like this.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty forthright. There was clearly no love lost there. I was surprised it how pointed his statement was.
One of the bits that really interests me is this commercial arm of the PTPA. Of course, billionaire Bill Ackman, who is funding this whole thing, who is out here donating $10,000 to the man who murdered Renee Good in Minnesota. Bill Ackman, that Bill Ackman.
Oh, yeah. I think we've figured out that was real, by the way. However, the GoFundMe may be a scam.
But the intent is still the same. Like, he has $10,000 to just willy-nilly throw around without doing any investigation.
Right.
This is why billionaires shouldn't have that much money.
And he did retweet the GoFundMe.
Anyway, the PTPA's commercial arm, they were an investor in Grand Slam track, which was Michael Johnson's whole venture last year, where we're going to have these 4 events and make a bunch of money for track stars who don't make as much money as they should. Well, they had to cancel one of those events, and they still haven't paid the majority of their track stars.
Yeah. PTPA has had a few bad days lately. Ben Rothenberg reported that Served, Andy Roddick's podcast with John Wertheim, is cooking up an episode on the PTPA alongside the investigative reporter Tim Rohan. Now, their producer has denied it. Ben says he has reliable sources, but there may be an episode in the works on the PTPA. Novak did confirm that he was contacted by a podcast and that he responded. So, Andy Roddick has been pretty vociferous in his criticism of PTPA, and of course he had that interview with Ahmad Nassar that many people described as uncomfortable. So PTPA has been a big target of Andy Roddick, and I will just say, let's keep that same smoke for internal tennis institutions, not only the PTPA.
There's going to be a lot of news to be talked about in the lead up to this Australian Open. These press conferences are going to be lit. Anastasia Potapova has changed nationality to Austria.
Yeah, you almost added that extra syllable in there.
Which would have been perfect, because she basically posted a nearly verbatim version of Dasha's post when she became an Australian citizen.
Different hemispheres. I think the only difference in the statement was the word Australia versus Austria. Do not think for a second that was an accident, by the way.
What are you implying?
What I'm implying is that it was malicious. Dasha left Russia for a lot of complex reasons. One of them being that she has been vocally anti-war. Second is that she's an out queer person, and it's no longer safe for her to be there. Potapova, on the other hand, left so she could get visas easier. I'm putting words in her mouth. But why else would she have left? Her reason doesn't really seem political based on her past.
So you're saying that it was targeted to use the same verbiage to call out Dasha? What I'm not quite getting it.
I don't quite know, but that's my opinion.
Okay.
Anastasia has participated in that exhibition put on by Gazprom, which is the Russian state-owned oil company that's been a huge supporter of the war effort for the past few years. Also participating this past event was Medvedev, Bublik, Kudermetova, Khachanov, Schneider, and Talon Griekspoor. What are you doing here? Per Politico, Gazprom also funds its own mercenary group of private security personnel to fight in Ukraine. So that's great.
We know that in the off-season, this so-called Battle of the Sexes happened. Of course, Sabalenka lost. The score was 6-3, 6-3. Kyrgios looked beyond out of shape. Gassed from the middle of the first set. Asked about it at United Cup, Iga Swiatek said, quote, "No, I haven't watched because I don't watch stuff like that. I only know about how it looked like, but I think it was for sure nice entertainment and an exo match between these two. And about the whole battle of the sexes element of it," she said, "there were no more similarities because I feel like women's tennis stands on its own right now. We have so many great athletes and great stories to present. We don't necessarily need to compare to men's tennis. It's a totally different story." She said, I'm not about this life. It certainly would not have been me doing that. That's what she said.
No, Iga's a very literal person, but she's not a stupid person, right? I'm not going to say that this whole statement was shade, but it also wasn't not that. So I haven't watched because I don't watch stuff like that. You can keep it. It's fine. She said it was a nice entertainment. A number of people, trolls have said, oh, people are just mad because Arena lost. It's like, no, we never had any illusions that Arena would win. That really wasn't the point. The issue was that this thing was going on at all, and it was being compared to the original Battle of the Sexes. It was a cynical money grab event.
And now with the hindsight of Naomi leaving Evolve, we see that Sabalenka really is the focus of that company. And if they're not making as much money as they hoped they would with Naomi as the cash cow, something like this happens. Under the guise of, oh, it'll be a nice fun experiment. And those who say otherwise, you just don't know how to have any fun. Lighten up.
Mm-hmm. Was it fun?
Well, Sabalenka had all the fun. It was the most fun.
She had a blast.
She stopped mid-match, mid-game, mid-point to do the Macarena. Like, shucking and jiving out here for, again, these men. That's what it all boils down to. She's a pick-me for men. That's what Arena Sabalenka is.
Yeah. Stop complaining that you're not a star and just be a star.
You could just be Connor Story or Hudson Williams and show up to the Golden Globes and kill it because of your natural-born ability.
Or you could be Iga Swiatek. I mean, comparing a little bit more close to home.
The ATP quietly released their safeguarding policy that had been long promised. This was like an end-of-year dump with no fanfare.
Like, my God. It was released on December 20th or something. Better late than never, I guess.
We had said on the show that they hired a safeguarding director in March 2023. His name is Andrew Azzopardi. They have now introduced their new safeguarding program in December 2025, a full 2.5 years later. Supposedly built around policies and procedures, prevention, and response. Quote, the ATP is committed to creating a safe, respectful, and inclusive environment across all ATP tournaments worldwide. Safeguarding is central to our values and to the way we protect the dignity, well-being, and rights of everyone involved in professional tennis. Safeguarding at ATP applies to players, player support teams, staff, officials, volunteers, children, adults at risk, and anyone participating in or attending ATP tournaments. Now, does this include wives or partners or girlfriends who are potentially attacked at hotels while attending a tournament? Mind you, if it's a Grand Slam, does that still fall under your purview? Because, oh no, that's an ITF issue.
Yeah. Well, this does apply to the teams of the players. Players certainly should be protected by safeguarding, but sometimes people need to be protected from players, which is part of the reason this policy exists at all.
They say that training for staff, players, player teams, and tournament personnel is to be rolled out in 2026. And I should hope they have to take it every year, because I have to take my harassment training every year.
Right. Each tournament on the ATP Tour will have a designated safeguarding officer, and they've also outlined several different ways to report concerns. Some of them are anonymous, and they say the program is built upon trauma-informed care. We were a little bit glib, but it is no doubt good news that this is being put into place, that there is a designated person whose job it is to enact this policy and make sure it works.
The Next Gen Finals happened while we were away, and Lerner Tien won this event. He's not the first player to ever play this event twice. It felt a bit strange that somebody ranked so high and so much higher than the other participants would give it another go. He did, and at the risk of falling flat on his face and losing when he's expected to win, he managed to pull it off. He lost his first match in round robin and then went on to win the tournament. Did you know that to date, since the inception in 2017, that there hasn't been one miss in either a finalist or winner of this event, that everybody has gone on to have a notable career, that you've heard of every single one of them. The first event was won by Young Chung in 2017, runner-up Rublev. 2018, Tsitsipas Duminar. Duminar lost again in 2019 to Yannick Sinner. No competition in 2020 because of COVID. In 2021, Carlos Alcaraz beat Korda. 2022, currently surging up the rankings, Brandon Nakashima won against Jiří Lehečka. 2023, Hamad Medjedovic beat Archie Fils. João Fonseca last year beat Lerner Tien, and then Tien comes back this year to beat Alexander Blocks, who just cracked the top 100 this week as a 20-year-old.
I was happy to see a bunch of people who I've never heard of in the lineup. Often we have people who've already achieved quite a lot on the main tour play Next Gen Finals because they're still technically young enough. But it was kind of cool to see a group of players who are pretty unheralded on the tour so far. It feels like that's what it should be for.
Just the other day, Joe-Wilfried Tsonga cooked Coach Patrick on the internet.
You know, he was sent for. It wasn't out of nowhere.
His mother didn't teach him better than that. Because he sent for him on the internet.
Patrick, a little while ago, said, quote, Draper, Runa, Duminar, Fritz, Shelton, and FAA are very good. Sorry, but I don't think you'd have beaten them regularly. Talking about Tsonga. I don't know how this came up. I don't know why it came up, but I'm just asking Patrick to be so serious. Joe-Wilfried beat the big three numerous times, including at slams. I just don't know why he thinks that he wouldn't have success against this current second tier of players, who are largely untested. It feels just way too much recency bias that the next generation is inevitably better than the previous generation. I just don't think that's true.
Tsonga responded with, quote, You are just the coach. You will never have felt what it's like to be a tennis player, to step into the arena. You're not the best placed to give me lessons on the high level. I would like to see and hear far less from this man. Just like Bill Maher, per Wanda Sykes' request last night.
You know, Serena tried to gag him at one slam, said, please don't talk to the media, and they all said, it's free speech. It's civil rights.
We got a lot of requests from folks in the off-season to make sure that we cover this on our season opener, and how could we not? Venus Williams got married to Andrea Preti in the off-season, and what emanated from this wedding was some of the most stunning wedding pictures you'll ever see in your life.
I was so confused. I thought Venus was already married. And it turns out I did not imagine it. But she and Andrea did get married in Italy on September 18th. Got married, well, again, basically.
Well, I don't know if it was an official marriage in Italy, but they had a ceremony in Italy. And what we were confused by was the little videos, the clandestine videos of the Williams family in Italy in September, but we didn't get anything from it.
Right.
Nothing happened. So I assumed that she got married then, and that we'd get the Vogue, Vanity Fair, whatever spread at a later date. But what we did get was a second ceremony, whether it was the actual wedding, I think that's what it was, the actual marriage. They went to the courthouse, did that, they had pictures there. Then they had a 5-day celebration. And the gowns, the dresses, the suits, she gave every look imaginable. Not least of which was the one that I refer to as the Hillary Banks outfit, where she's wearing the hat with the skirt, and it just, wow. It's money doesn't buy you class, but sometimes rich people do get it right.
Venus is a very beautiful woman. Always has been. It looked super happy. Andrea he's a good-looking man.
I scoured those photos to try and find Orsine, and she was there all along. I just did not recognize her.
Right.
She looked at least 25 years younger.
Yeah.
She was done up.
Venus is not retiring from tennis. She's back in Australia. Well, first in New Zealand, losing to Magdalene in 3 sets, but looking pretty good.
Looking even better than she did in the fall, late summer, when she first came back. Narrowly lost to Magdalene. Could have won in straight sets. She's going to be in Hobart playing in a couple hours against Tatiana Maria, 2 grand dames of women's tennis. And then she'll move on to the Australian Open.
Looking ahead to this coming season, we wanted to offer our, picks, our forecasts for players we think are going to excel this year.
Initially, I said, well, maybe we should play with the format, and instead of doing a player from each of the 3 traditional categories that we use to break out in 2026, players ranked in the top 50 from 51 to 100, and then outside the top 100, maybe we should do a segment where we talk about players on both tours who we're bullish on and players who we think might regress in 2026. And I just, at the end of it, didn't feel ready to let go of that tradition. So we'll start with those categories and then maybe talk about a few players.
Okay. I mean, after I went and came up with all my players I would buy and sell this year, you changed the format again.
I put on the agenda question mark. Maybe we should do this question mark. And you never followed up with me. So.
Okay. So how we do it, as a reminder, is we each pick a current player in the top 50, then 51 to 100, then anyone outside of the top 100 to have a breakout year, to make a big jump in the rankings, to have a big tournament result, basically to improve upon their career.
I'm going to go first.
Okay.
On the men's side, top 50, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going with all next-gen players, people who've competed at the next-gen finals, because as I've shown you on this episode, it's a foolproof recipe. I'm going back to the Learner TN to break out even further in 2026 from the top 50 spot. Alexander Blocks just crossed over into the top 100. I'm picking him from 51 to 100. And then I'm going to go with Rafael Hodar and or Coleman Wong.
Okay. You picked Lerner last year, right?
I did.
It was a good pick, obviously. And there's no rule that you can't pick him twice in a row. I've picked Davidovich Fokina many, many times.
Will you this year?
No, because last year I didn't, and he had a good year. So maybe this year he'll get a title. For mine, I picked Bergs for the top 50.
Recency bias.
Sure. I think you'll find that's the only one really that was influenced by recent events.
You saw him twerking and you said, sign me up.
51 to 100, I picked Collignon. And
recency bias.
Well, no, but that was more about his fall, his autumn.
Okay. Not the fact that he just beat Grigor easily in straight sets?
No.
Because then he went the next week and lost in the first round of qualifying easily as well.
See? So I don't know why you're trying to impugn my picks already.
Okay.
And for outside of the top 100, I'm picking Bu Inchikete.
I picked him last year.
Oh, you did?
I did. On the women's side, I am going with Iva Jovic from the top 50. I was tempted to go with Eva Lise, but I'm just pushing back against the Lisification of women's tennis right now. There's a little bit too much hype and talk about this woman for my liking right now.
Nothing against Miss Lise.
No, nothing
it's
against
just
her. It's
you
just,
want to be a little contrary.
Y'all are doing too much. From the 51 to 100 range, I'm going with Janice Chen. And a big swing from outside the top 100, way outside the top 100, 17-year-old recent Italian national, changing nationalities from the United States to playing for Italy, Tyra Grant. She's ranked 234. This pick will probably not be a great one. She's still very young, and I would say a breakout for her would be to maybe crack the top 150. And where I first learned about Tyra Grant was a couple years ago at the US Open. I watched Lerner Tien and Claire-Vian Gunaway play doubles together in the main draw against Kovacevic and Tyra Grant. I've talked about this quite a few times on the show, and that was so much fun. I enjoyed it, and I'm invested in all 4 players becoming highly ranked tennis players. Kovacevic now is top 60, I believe. Had a good week last week to open the season. Lerner Tien is there already. Clairvy, struggling at the moment, but, there's still lots of time.
I also picked Jovic. I was going back and forth between her and Joint, but I landed on Iva Jovic.
You could have had a joint pick.
By 51 to 100, I picked Valentova, the Czech, and outside the top 100, Rakotomanga Rajauna, who won a title last year, her first, and the first Malagasy player ever to win a WTA title.
Who are some of the players that we're bullish on in 2026?
Yeah, so I also picked Munar. Fonseca, I know, is an obvious pick, but Fonseca for me was to sort of make good on some of the hype that maybe didn't come to fruition for a lot of last year, and he sort of finished the year on the upswing.
Started the year on the downswing due to injury.
Well, now I found, after I wrote him down in ink, I find out that he has had back problems as a very young person, had a stress fracture in his vertebrae. That's really alarming, but that doesn't mean he can't have a great career.
I think it may just be a little bit delayed at this point. I'm bullish on Diallo. I think he will be better than many of us think. I think we tend to put him down as a serve-bot type player, and I think he's shown that he's got a bigger ceiling than that. I'm also bullish on Marcos Giron, selfishly, so that he can stay in the talk and the picture to be viewed more more often in 2026. Who else do you got?
I had Muchova, especially because of the result last week beating Rybakina, Haley Baptiste, and Barbora Krejcikova.
Oh, shocking.
Who, I mean, she's already broken out, but to have more of a rebound.
That Krejcikova pick is crazy.
No, it's not, because she's underranked by a lot.
I just don't know if it's in the spirit of the assignment.
Fine. But we made up the assignment.
I know you are not bullish on Emma Navarro.
No, and it does, I know, feel like kind of a cheap shot this year, but...
It feels like wishful thinking more than anything else. She's a solid tennis player.
Sure, but I think she has been overranked for a while.
I'm bullish on Vicky Mboko. I like the early signs where she's being able to troubleshoot difficult situations early in the season and still win. I'm less bullish on Alexandra Ayala. I'm still not convinced.
Having just made the top 50 this week?
I know.
All right, that's your prerogative. Can I go through the players that I am selling this year?
Okay.
Just hold your nose. Some people will not like the names I'm about to say. Naomi Osaka, Jack Draper.
You've been poking holes in the wheel, trying to derail that bandwagon for months now.
Are you talking about Naomi?
Yes.
I'm not seeing it come together as people expected it to come together in the summer.
You famously, privately said to me that you don't think she'll ever win another slam.
How could it be famously if it was private?
Well, now it'll be famous.
Right. Thanks so much.
Which means she's going to win the Australian Open and the US Open this year.
Probably will. Draper, and I know that's bad, but only because this injury is really alarming, and he called it the most complex injury of his career. Tommy Paul, I'm just not really seeing it for him. Arthur Fils, I'm alarmed by the Australian Open withdrawal, but that could just be extra caution. But a back injury at his age is alarming, in my opinion. I'm not seeing it for Tsitsipas, not seeing it for Zverev. I don't think he'll have the consistency that he had this past year and previous years.
I'm not seeing it for Maria Sakkari. I'm looking at her ranking of 52 right now and thinking it's a miracle.
Oh.
But, she's found the love of her life and the person who gets her more than anybody else, so...
I know. I mean, maybe they'll get married at Mar-a-Lago.
I am buying Elina Svitolina this year. I think this is the year where she has her best year yet.
So is Palantir. See what I did there?
Oh, wow.
Somebody on Twitter unearthed this announcement from 2.5 years ago from Palantir, the software company, and... back in my day, we called them war profiteers, not defense contractors, that they were sponsoring Alina Svitolina because of what was going on in her home country of Ukraine. So that was a thing that I learned this week. Palantir, who, if you're living in the United States, may be currently surveilling your phone, looking for people to deport So that happened.
So I can't support her?
Sure, you can. You can do whatever you want.
Damn. Danielle Collins will be absent from the first part of the season as she recovers from injury. She plans to play on into 2026. You'll probably have seen her already on Tennis Channel. While she's recovering, she'll be appearing as a panelist in studio. She also says that in the off-season she'd been freezing eggs as well in preparation for the next phase of her life outside of tennis.
Right. Let's talk about the ESPN commentator lineup. I know it's not next on our list, but it ties in here. ESPN rolled out their new team for Australia, and a number of people noticed that Pam Shriver and Brad Gilbert and Darren Cahill were not part of the team. Renee Stubbs as well. But Pam and Brad are the ones who've caused the most conversation, just because they've both worked with ESPN for so long, and they're not current coaches of any players as far as I know. Darren is less surprising just because he's still got a job, right? He's still the coach of Jannik Sinner.
So he didn't quit at the end of last season. Were we lied to?
Apparently not. They were supposed to. I thought they were breaking up. Didn't they release like
It was announced a year in advance
Yes.
that breaking news, this will be the last season that we work together. And maybe it has just happened and we don't know. There hasn't been any
I
fanfare.
don't think so.
Well,
Yeah.
Yannick hasn't shown up for the season yet. They did an
Right.
exhibition, him and Carlos, just this past week. We'll see at the Australian Open. But I don't think we know anything definitive yet, other than we haven't had confirmation that this in fact has happened.
Pam and Brad both still work with Tennis Channel, and Brad is part of this new Big T podcast that was debuted on Tennis Channel recently. Gotta work on that name. We do have something else later, so maybe you want to save it for then.
Trophodermin, Big T?
The name is terrible. Like, what is this?
They're coming for your gig as the drugs expert.
Yeah, I bet. Malika Andrews is in at ESPN in kind of a hosting role. I guess she works with NBA. I'm not familiar with her because I don't really watch that many other sports, as you all know. Some of the survivors, though, of the ESPN purge, damn, perplexing. A number of you on here keep telling me that Sam Querrey is a really good commentator, and I'm not seeing it, guys, and I'm not going to.
I also resent that he contracted this job.
Well, yeah, it proves that you can buy your way in.
Yeah, he literally bought his way into this job because talent alone couldn't get him there.
And I hate to say it.
Don't say it.
I hate to say it, but Colleen is not bad. She's not bad.
Well, I can't confirm one way or another because I just don't pay attention.
And I think every time you hear her, you're like, who is that again? Like, sir, that's Colleen Vandeweghe.
But there are a lot of people I've seen on the internet who despise her commentary.
Yeah, and clearly we have strong opinions on commentators. That is your prerogative. But I have been surprised. And let me tell you, I wasn't really open to having my mind changed, but it was.
The McEnroe survived, sadly.
Yeah.
Chris Everett is still there.
Chris Fowler, who has to go in and out due to college football, is still around. You know, the online tennis community complains about the McEnroes and Everett constantly, but for the rest of, like, casual viewers, they don't care. They either really like them or they don't care. It doesn't make a difference.
Tell me, why am I still seeing and hearing Ryan Harrison commentate tennis matches?
Now that's wild.
That is one of the biggest payola stories in tennis history. The man has... Oh, don't get me started.
It is... maybe Served needs to do an investigation on that. Between the dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of wildcards he received in his playing career to where we are now, what is going on? I will say Pam and Brad will be missed. Brad is definitely an acquired taste. I know that. But they both offer something that I don't really think is replaceable. And Pam, for her part, has always been a reporter as much as a commentator, right? She's always trying to grab the story. I think what she brings to tennis commentary is passion and doggedness. And a really deep knowledge of the game, obviously.
35 years at ESPN. We'll see how this plays out. Maybe this will be a boon for Tennis Channel in getting better talent.
Maybe. Stan Wawrinka, in his final year on tour, has received the last Australian Open wildcard in men's singles. On the same day, Nick Kyrgios announced that after speaking with Tennis Australia, he's decided to play only doubles at the Australian Open because of the difficulty of playing best of 5 in his current condition. It sounds like Tennis Australia might have told him they weren't giving him the last wildcard. That is pure speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happened.
Anybody who saw glimpses of that exhibition with Sabalenka could tell that this man was not up to snuff for best of 5. And this is where I draw a line in the sand. So many of y'all have the biggest smoke for Venus Williams in telling her to retire when she's still showing up fit as a fiddle, able to compete, not embarrassing herself, but yet you're happy to have this man run amok on tennis for shits and giggles. Like, he's not fit. He's not up to par. He shouldn't be there.
And Venus also isn't sitting at home saying, I'm the most talented player out there. I beat everybody I beat the biggest legends in my career. I could have done so many things. No, Venus did those things.
She's one of the biggest legends of her career.
Right. And she's still playing and still loves the sport. So Stan, as I said, is retiring at the end of 2026. And he started his year with a win over Rinderknech.
And that led to all this talk about the wild card, because he said, this is going to be my last year. I'm going to play as much as I can. However, I've yet to be invited to the Australian Open. He scores the big opening win at United Cup. The team keeps winning. No thanks to him.
Well,
they make it all the way to the final.
Belinda really dragged him through that draw.
And so the story keeps building. Eventually it gets announced that Stan gets one of the final wildcards. He was competitive in a lot of those matches. He just didn't have the steam in the third set for a lot of them.
Yeah. Poland reaches the final for the third straight year in United Cup and finally gets the title, beating Switzerland. And the ironic thing is, Iga Świątek loses her singles matches in the semis and the finals, and Poland still wins because of the strength of Horkacz and the doubles team of Kava Zielinski. Really impressive stuff.
Hubie came back with a bang at this event.
Yeah.
Didn't play for the second half of 2025. These were his first wins in like 7 months. He came back right away, vanquished that guy in straight sets, beat Stan, wins other matches. I mean, he looked gassed after the second set of that final against Wawrinka, but was able to pull it out nonetheless.
And Iga has talked about how team events are kind of uniquely tiring, that she really enjoys them, but it's exhausting. And you could see, especially for somebody who's maybe a bit more introverted, just being part of a team and having to be an active watcher and be supportive of your teammates, those are things you don't have to do in normal tournaments, right? When your match is over, you can go do whatever you want and relax.
Have people then watching you to see how you are interacting with people, if you're being as supportive of him as he was of you. Why do you have this sourpuss on your face? Why aren't you smiling? Why aren't you this? I would be absolutely exhausted playing these team events.
In the semifinals, one of the highlights of the week for us is Coco Gauff beating Iga for the fourth straight time and actually winning 8 straight sets against a player who was so tough for her for a long time.
The head-to-head is now 5-11. The next challenge for Coco is to now maybe do this at a major against Iga. But for now, we've seen the re-pigeonification of this rivalry.
Just for now. It's only 4. In the context of a long career and these long rivalries, 4 matches is nothing. Like, it's so short. But it is just so surprising because the turn felt like it came out of nowhere. And for a long time, Iga owned Coco so bad.
We saw this especially on the men's side with the big 3 and how they each had barren stretches against each other. And the challenge was then to go back to the drawing board, wheel and come again, find a new strategy to combat what this player is now doing differently against you. And this, it seems, is what Iga is struggling with in her career right now. Not just in this matchup, this head-to-head, but overall. She's kind of a ball basher. Right. And there isn't really much of a plan B. And if there is, it's marginal. There isn't this huge shift in what she's able to do, especially mid-match, to adjust to situations not going her way. Mm-hmm. It seems to be you hit harder and harder and harder.
But that should not be the case at all. Like, the toolbox is there. The toolkit, what do they say?
Both work.
Right. She has the resources. It's just she's not really pulling them at the right time.
Yo-Yo Coco was in full display at this United Cup. Against Buzas Monero, played horrific tennis.
Oh, yeah.
Like a complete shocker.
Really bad.
Her fans were just having aneurysms all over my timeline as this match was going on. I told you, go look at Blue Sky right now. Go look at it. And it's 10 skeets in a row of people just losing their shit at how bad this is. Mm. Saying they have to turn it off. Coco, what are you doing? I can't deal with this shit in 2026. I thought we'd been through this. Why are we doing this again? Blah, 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 blah. And then a couple days later, she's whooping Iga's ass again.
We have been telling you to stop panicking. Just stop. And I think if you are going to be a committed Coco fan like we are, you just have to accept that there are always going to be matches like this. Always.
Captain of Team Greece, this is one of the Nepo stories. Oh, the day.
This is one of the great Nepo babies of tennis.
Petros Tsitsipas said that, quote, Goff isn't in her best form. She's struggling with her serve. I like Maria's chances. Coco, of course, goes on to beat her 6-3, 6-2. Petros Tsitsipas captaining this team. This is crazy. If I'm Tom Hill and I'm in the box trying to talk to Maria, I am losing my shit that this little shit is talking to my player.
Like, why are you here?
Like, why are you here? What do you have to offer? Madness. This Tsitsipas family needs to be stopped.
But why did he set up Maria like that? Really? Because Coco goes on to beat her 6-3, 6-2.
Probably the two biggest stories to come out of this week are Belinda Bencic and Zizou Bergs, wouldn't you say? Like, in terms of
probably.
Players with the most sheen on them. And I really do hate to say it, but Belinda played impeccable tennis, winning every single singles match. I believe she was 9-1. She played 5 ties, and the only match she lost was the mixed doubles deciding match.
Oh, wow.
To lose the event. And the way she played against Iga Swiatek, I hope she's unable to recapture that the rest of the year, because it's gonna be a problem. Talk about a purple patch. Like, that is what a purple patch is. This lady takes the ball early, is able to absorb pace, redirect pace, times the hell out of a tennis ball. And now she seems to be hitting the ball harder as well. She changed her service motion. It looks janky as fuck, but it works for her now. Mm-hmm. I'm equally impressed and appalled.
This is what they were saying about her back when she was a junior, right? This is what we've been saying. Not we, but...
Mm-hmm. And if you are new to the show, please do some research before you at us to be like, why you hate her so much. Please.
We don't hate. Hate is not a word that we use in this house.
Well, I didn't grow up in that house.
Oh, okay.
So I've always found that to be...
talking about my house.
Silly. It doesn't have to mean what you give it to mean. Y'all are doing too much with that word hate. It's a strong dislike, okay? It doesn't mean that the person should die.
You mentioned Zizou, who, of course, I picked for my breakout player. You know, let's be real. After watching this week, playing the tennis of his life, beating Felix, Bencic, Wawrinka, helping his team to the semifinals. Belgium was rough on Canada. I was very upset because Canada excels at these team events. They've won Davis Cup. They've won Fed Cup. I can't remember if they've won here or not. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
But
I know Kerber and that guy.
They won Hopman Cup last year, which does still exist in July. But yeah, Canada excels at this. But man, they just ran into Mertens, who beat Mboko, Bergs, who beat Felix. It was too much.
In Brisbane, This final was one of the gutter events of the year, and I'm just so glad we got it out of the way right off the bat, and may we never have to experience that. At least this time of year we can kind of ignore it. But if this happens at a French Open or a US Open, like, my God, Sabalenka beats turf warrior Marta Kostyuk.
Don't let her hear you say that, because can we set the record straight again for the journalists who don't know the story, aren't asking the right questions? They claim that she was misquoted, that she didn't say those things. And again, even the New York Times published a piece on it. The quotes were real. They were repeated in a very misleading way. They were purposely misrepresented by Tennis 365. But what Marta said was not fake. It wasn't fabricated. The fact that she talked about testosterone out of nowhere. Nobody pumped her with that, right? She came up with that gem on her own. What she said was insulting.
But she doesn't have anything to apologize for to ego.
Oh, no. So let her continue to go on this pity party tour where every journalist, I guess, asks her, oh, I'm so sorry you were misquoted. Do you want to kind of recontextualize those quotes? No, she doesn't. So this matchup between her and Sabalenka, somebody she was perceived as insulting, was juicy to some people. To me, I preferred not to participate in the whole spectacle.
What were you going to get from it? They were never going to shake hands at the end. Sabalenka was probably going to make it look as like, oh, look at that, like, why,
right? And then Sabalenka's own views are equally as offensive, as we know. So who wins here?
You have here that Kostyuk, despite her lack of testosterone...
Oh, she said it, not me, you know?
beat Putintseva, Anisimova, Andreeva, and Peggy. She beat Peggy.
I love how that sounded like the Schuyler sisters. Angelica,
oh my God,
Eliza, and Peggy.
She beat Peggy 6-love, 6-3.
Yeah.
It was a good week.
That.
It was a big week for Kostyuk. It was a great week for Sabalenka, defended her title, didn't look in danger of losing a set all week. It bodes very well for her for the Australian Open, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no, I mean,
yada,
against
yada, yada.
A really great competition, too. Kirstea, Keys, Muchova, all in straight sets. A rematch of last year's Australian Open final.
That's enough of that. Medvedev beat Nakashima in the men's final in Brisbane. Medvedev with his new coach. Who is it? Thomas Johansson?
Yes.
Had a bit of an uptick at the end of last season. Now follows it with a win here. 22 titles in 22 different cities. Tongue-in-cheek, he posts on Twitter, I think, that the ATP needs to come up with more cities because he's running out of them. You know, one of them is Melbourne, it's still available. One of them definitely is London. In Hong Kong, Bublik, 4 titles last year, already with 1 this year, beating Musetti. Lorenzo cracks the top 5 despite the loss. Musetti hasn't won a title since 2022 despite losing 7 finals in that time. You had it written here, despite 7 final appearances. I decided to be a little bit more nasty about it.
Let me tell you, I was shocked with the top 5 debut. How did that happen?
How the rankings work is that if enough people salivate about a player, then that gives them a boost up the rankings.
But, I mean, Patrick wants to tell me that Tsonga wouldn't have winning records against any of these top guys. Yeah, I just don't believe it.
In Auckland, Elina Svitolina beat Wang Zhenyu. This was where Venus played against Magda Linette, losing in 3 sets. Venus also played doubles with Svitolina, losing their opening match. They lost to Iva Jovic and Ayala. Both Jovic and Ayala reached the semifinals in singles as well. We got news yesterday that Milos Raonic has called it quits. Wimbledon finalist in 2016, I want to say. He made 1 slam final, a bunch of quarterfinals. He made the semis at the Australian Open. Of course, he is the poster child for ushering in this era of successful Canadian tennis. Unfortunately for him, he wasn't able to partake in that while it was actually happening. Because of injury in the last 8 to 10 years of his career. He's played very sparingly at the Grand Slam level, but the mark that he made in Canadian tennis will live on. He also, if you recall, was one of the players alongside Jeannie Bouchard who came of age with us on this show, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
They both, well, Milos crested in 2014. We started in 2015. Jeannie did the same, I believe. They came up at the same time. And so we've always had an eye on both their careers, for better or worse. We've always been aware of them. They take up a lot of the media coverage in tennis here in Canada. They're a big reason why the tennis coverage is so good in Canada. Mm-hmm. If there's any Canadian playing a tennis singles match around the world, you'll be able to find it on TSN somewhere, probably. And that's in large part, I would say, to Milos and Jeannie.
Yeah.
You referenced the Big T podcast from Tennis Channel earlier. We got quite a few new podcasts in the tennis genre.
Yeah. Kim Clijsters has one with Blair Henley co-hosting called Love All. I haven't listened, but I will. I love Kim, love Blair. I don't listen to a lot of tennis podcasts, and I know you don't either, just being totally honest.
You always say it as if it's some disrespect that I'm giving people. I just don't listen to podcasts.
Well, that's true. You don't really listen to any podcasts.
It's one of my big hypocrisies in that I'm out here shilling for cash on a microphone, and I don't support the medium.
Wow. We did finally listen to Serena and Venus's podcast, Stockton Street, right? That's what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
I found it was funny. It was amusing. I've skipped any episodes that are like interview because why would I care, if I'm being honest? Why do I want to hear Kevin Hart?
From a car. He's
really?
Calling in, FaceTiming himself from a car.
And then there was one where they were going to interview some kind of like royal or aristocrat who was going to talk about etiquette, and like, absolutely not. We are here for Venus and Serena only. I don't want to hear them interview people. I don't care who it is.
I think somebody had asked us on a Q&A episode last year what we thought of the podcast, and we couldn't give any thoughts on it because we hadn't listened. But we did say what our misgivings were that would keep us from listening, and I would say that the format where it's just the two of them put all those misgivings to rest. It was fun, it was engaging, they were just having a laugh, recalling their life in tennis and outside together. It's just a kiki.
Right.
Are you bothered by the latest infusion of tennis podcasts?
What's
are
the latest
Are you
infusion?
threatened that there's so many?
Well, I will say we definitely don't do what they do.
We can't do what they do.
And to be totally honest, they can't do what we do.
No, that's a bit braggadocious.
I'm just saying.
Braggy.
A lot of these new shows are coming from inside tennis. Mm-hmm. There are probably a lot of things they'd like to say that they can't say. We don't have big sponsors, right? We are not begging the ATP for change. We're not relying on some PR agency to put together our content.
So that we can then get a spot on Tennis Channel.
Right. We are really, really lucky to have listeners who are willing to give us money, which is absolutely crazy. And so we are only responsible to listeners. That's it. And Carolyn Garcia said that her podcast will not take any betting sponsorship.
Good for her.
Which I love that. And, I will put this on the record. We don't either. To be fair, we've never been asked, but we don't.
If I'm being honest, there was a time many years ago where I was annoyed by this kind of stuff. Like, we're out here just doing the work, trying to make something of this show, and then here comes somebody with more means and more resources and more access to just put something together with the help of a bunch of other people.
Yes. And
so that did tick me off for a while, but as the years went on, I've seen a lot of shows come, a majority of them go.
Remember when Vika Azarenka had one?
And we're still here. So I'm just not really bothered anymore. I'm really not.
No.
The more people always ask, well, don't you want to do this? You could do that. What about this? What about YouTube? What about going on video? What about covering more tournaments in press? There's a lot of questions about what's next, what's bigger. I'm comfortable where I am. I don't need to be bigger. I feel like being bigger causes more problems.
Oh my God, look at Las Culturistas this week. Did you know what Tina Fey said? She said Bo and Yang, authenticity is dangerous and expensive.
And Matt, you've got about a year left.
Oh my God. So I can't not. Okay. I learned from Tina Fey, because I'm not actually going to comment on what was said by Matt and Bowen and all that. I'm leaving that. You all can argue.
I'm just saying I'm not displeased by this downfall for Matt Rogers.
Wow. Listen, gays are really, really hard on other gays. Like, if you are a famous gay person, there will be a million other gay people ready to take you down, to talk about how you ain't shit, how you're ugly, how you're this. And that is a very sad reality of our community. It's just the truth.
Okay, I've always found him annoying, but what did it for me?
The point is, I've never said anything about them or a lot of other people, because I'm not about to be part of that pitchfork community. You know what I mean?
Well, I am not above that. I've always found him annoying, and then the interview that they did with Mariah, no ma'am.
Oh, sure. I mean, I don't listen, so I don't know if there's ever been something so objectionable that it required comment, But what Tina Fey said on their show was one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard on a podcast. I don't know if she freestyled that or she wrote it down in advance, but telling him basically, you're too famous now to have an opinion. You're going to lose deals. You're going to have to sit across from people who you've criticized. It's going to be very awkward. I mean, we've already done that, to be honest.
Yeah.
In this very small tennis community. It's just that they don't know who we are. That's the big difference.
Anyway, the point was, welcome to the show, new tennis podcasts. Shoot for the stars.
Coco Gauff is a big heated rivalry fan, along with everybody else, it seems like.
I saw somebody on TikTok today say, I went to look for the heated rivalry hate for all the think pieces about how the show is Sodom and Gomorrah, about how it's going to bring down the end of the world, and they couldn't find any. And then I was thinking as well, maybe I'm just so insulated to this stuff, but it really hasn't been an issue so far. Eventually people are going to get tired of them.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
The natural response to a show like this from certain people would be to...
Oh, it used to, like, in the 90s, it would have been, this whole, religious campaign against the show. But times have really changed. Happy to see that Coco is giving them their 10s, as she said. When are we getting a WTA heated rivalry? How about that? First of all, just a women's one in general. But think of how a women's tennis heated rivalry would just go off. I know it feels like very 90s coded. That felt like a very lesbianic era in women's tennis.
Like if Conchita Martinez and Martina Navratilova were in this May-December romance in the 94 Wimbledon final.
Oh, not May-December, damn.
At the time it was.
Yeah, but no, I would love to see something like that situated in women's tennis. I heard that Crave in Canada is producing a show about like a queer, lesbian, slow pitch softball team.
Oh.
And some people that we know are going to be in it. The Friend in Sort of.
Sort of. Which is that one?
The show about the trans...
Oh, the Canadian one.
Yes. The Friend... I forgot their name. But the best friend. Anyway.
The Asian woman? The one who they nanny for?
No. Like, their best friend.
Oh, the stud.
Yes.
The black stud.
I don't know how they identify, but...
Okay.
I don't know if stud is appropriate. I actually don't even know if they're black, to be honest. But anyway. And also Nadine from Heated Rivalry. Kip's bestie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
More to look forward to. Are you tired of Heated Rivalry yet?
No, I'm going to rewatch it, actually. It's dominating my TikTok algorithm. There's this woman who does like 10-minute videos dissecting scenes in detail. I don't know if you've seen this.
I haven't come across that yet.
She plays them in slow motion and then like talks through them. I don't know if she has a background in psychology or something, but the close reading is really impressive. I would just say what they achieved on the budget is just so impressive. The show is not at all what I expected it to be. It's done with so much more care and thought than I thought it was just going to be gay romance smut. And the funny thing is, people talk about it like it's so graphic and explicit, but they're really only saying that because it's gay. Gay sex is still very shocking to people, and being reminded about how it works is perceived as a lot more explicit than it really is.
Okay, but it's also explicit because the care isn't really taken in how straight sex scenes are depicted the way it was in this show.
I see.
Like the little nuances.
It's just more nudity.
Like the little, like, okay, come here, and then Hudson slides up on the bed. Like,
oh, you mean like actual desire was depicted?
Like there's a lot to it that's not just butts.
Sure.
And nudity that makes it graphic. Graphic
not
doesn't
graphic.
necessarily.
I don't think that's the right word.
No, graphic to in the extent that it's pulling the curtain behind the topical sex stuff, the typical sex stuff. Graphic doesn't have to be tawdry in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Explicit, maybe. Same concept.
Sure.
Explicit doesn't have to mean nudity.
Fair enough. I mean, they came out of the gate really hot, and I think that was, in a way, on purpose. Like, there was a lot of sex in the first 2 episodes, and there was much, much less in the rest. I think there's just like a tinge of ickiness the way that people sometimes talk about it.
Okay.
Because even open-minded people can be shocked, right? And part of that is because it's gay.
You were shocked by a lot of the scenes.
I would, because you don't typically see that in mainstream
and a
TV.
lot of those scenes that you were shocked by were not the typically explicit stuff. Like, okay, they're banging. That's not shocking. But there are other little in-between things that were like, they really showed that.
Feel more intimate.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
But I don't think the people who say that, oh my God, it's so explicit, that they're talking about it from that perspective. I think they're talking about it the way you talked about them talking about it. I was just giving a concurrent analysis of what explicit could mean to other people on this show. What did you think of their looks at the Golden Globes last night?
I was upset at Connor's hair. I really didn't like it. They straightened his curls.
He had waves.
Wasn't a fan at all. Love him though. Love him down.
The outfit?
I don't really remember.
Oh damn.
Hudson looked good.
I thought the outfit was fire. I thought Hudson looked amazing. I'm surprised, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised, as to how much Hudson is killing the press engagements as the show gets bigger.
Was it necessary to say jizz in front of Gail? Was it though?
It wasn't, but this is who he is. This is how he's been the whole time. And so I was wondering, is he going to tone it down? Is he going to do other... Like, no. He's just going to do whatever, whenever. She was also being annoying in the moment.
Right.
She was doing this little bit with the calendar, and she pushed him once too many, and it came out. That brings us to the end of episode 1 of season 12, number 406 of the series run.
Oh, wow.
This is the part where we are dancers for money again. Amex will do.
Thank you so much. The response has been really overwhelming. It's a lot more than I anticipated at this stage. As you know, we always keep it open, or you may not know, we always keep the GoFundMe open through the end of the Australian Open. That is not a shameless cash grab. It's just that we do know a lot of people don't really clue into tennis until Australia comes back. And we've always, as a tradition, just launched it around US Thanksgiving. I don't know why. That's just how we've done it.
From doing the show for so many years, we know that there are a lot of people who listen to us who tune out after the US Open. And that's fine. Like, their tennis season is done. They pick up back again in January. And this is our opportunity to engage with them again. Read the GoFundMe that they may not have known about.
You can find everything related to the GoFundMe and us in general at linktree.com/thebodyserve. We are primarily on Blue Sky and Instagram at thebodyserve. Thanks for allowing us to take a real hiatus a real season break, and nobody complained that we weren't recording. I appreciate it. We needed a break.
My name is Jonathan. You can find me on Blue Sky at Tennis John.
I'm James at ElliotJMR.
2 L's, 2 T's. Like you said, everything BodyServe related at linktree.com/thebodyserve. Thanks for listening.
Till next time.
Thank you very much.